are still tuned into The Lowdown. Now, I'm excited for my guest today because he is a chief firearm instructor. Y'all give it up for Chris Louissaint.
Yes.
There he is.
What's up?
There he is.
All right.
What's going on, man?
What's going on, brother? How you
Welcome.
Hey,
Please.
yeah, my
Please.
man. My man.
Join us.
Hey.
There you go. You made it through the metal detector. Welcome. I'm joking, Chris. First off, thank you for being here, my friend. And thank you for your service, because you are a Navy veteran. We're going to give it up for that. Yes.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
No worries at all, man. I think it's very interesting what you do, because you teach firearms to people and safety, and you do it. I'm learning, you don't just do it for like people like me. You do it for young people too.
Correct.
Wait, let me ask that again. You do it for young people as well. Now, before we get into that, tell us what a firearm instructor truly does.
So a firearms instructor, what we do is we educate people on firearm safety. That is our principle, right?
Okay.
So to teach people to be responsible legal gun owners, we emphasize on safety.
Gotcha.
Right? So we do safety, then from there we learn tactics, we learn marksmanship, we learn fundamentals to become a responsible gun owner.
What you want.
Correct.
Everywhere you're at.
That is the key. That
Gotcha.
is the primary goal that we push.
And I love
responsible gun ownership.
I love that a lot. Now, I talked about and alluded to the fact that you do it for whole families.
Correct.
Like, you can bring your whole family to one of your private ranges, and you teach the young kids and up the responsibility.
Correct. It's important for the kids to know.
Okay. What age is the right age? Be like, hey, son, hold this gun. Like, what age is it?
I think it's based on the child's maturity and curiosity. So,
Okay.
but for me, the youngest child I had on my range that actually shot live ammunition was 4 years old.
4 years.
He was 4 years old.
And he knew already.
Yeah, he was excited. Out of his whole family,
He was excited.
He was ready. He was ready.
Well, let me ask this, man. How did you get into actually doing this as a job, as a career, being an instructor?
So for me, it was as I was advancing and as far as just training personally as a civilian, there was no representation. Every class that I took, I was the only black person in the class.
Really?
And I had all white instructors. I never had a black instructor.
Gotcha.
So that was like the first thing that
It clicked in your head, like, man, I don't see me.
Yeah, there was no representation.
At all.
And then, so as I started continuing my training, I was like, you know what? People were saying, hey, man, you're a great instructor. How about you go out and do this?
Gotcha.
And then I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, I'm good enough. And then
Absolutely, you are, man.
Thank you.
Now, I've seen some. I can't unfortunately show all the videos and stuff that you sent me because of having guns on air, whatnot. But you're very good at what you do.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate
and you take it very serious.
Yeah, I'm super serious.
Yeah, you are.
There's a time we'll joke and laugh, but when we're talking about what's very important, we're not laughing. I need you to pay attention.
Gotcha. What's one of the first things you would tell someone who will come to you and say, "Hey, man, Chris, I'm thinking about getting a weapon." What's the first thing you tell them when you hear that?
So the first thing I say is, what kind of training do you have? Or I like to ask why. Why do you want a weapon, right?
Okay.
I want to know what's your purpose.
Gotcha.
And if you articulate to me that, it's about protection and you say the things that I feel are good enough, then we'll move forward. If not, then I'm not the person for you.
For you. I love that, because you are responsible in what you teach people and who you won't work with.
Correct.
That's important,
Yeah,
correct?
indeed.
It's like a bartender, man.
Yeah,
you shouldn't have another one.
Yeah, you're done. Yeah. And I've had to do that before.
Really?
I've had people come and say, I just want to shoot people, and I'm like, oh, no, you're done. Thank you.
Yeah, no,
I appreciate you, but you got to go.
Yeah, you got to go, and you on a list now.
Yeah, correct. Yes, you are.
Yes,
you are.
Absolutely, man. Now, when it comes to the different guns that people can purchase and buy, if you're looking really just to have something to protect, is there a certain gun that you would purchase? Like, there's something that's right for you. You shouldn't go buy the largest thing you can find. Am I right in saying that?
So yes and no. When we're focusing on self-protection, self-defense, home protection, ideally I tell people, and concealed carry, that you want to go with a handgun, because that's what you're going to be carrying on you, and just by statistics and data, if you're involved in a deadly force encounter, that's going to be what you're going to be using. Now, if we're talking about just strictly home defense, you have shotguns and then you have rifles. So it just kind of depends. But ideally, I like to tell people all purpose, all around is going to be your handgun.
Gotcha. I want to tell people this first off. And I think, and I don't want to assume, so I want to ask this. The gun and the use of it is last resort.
So it's yes and no.
Okay.
So it depends on the situation, right? Context is very important. So if it's a rapidly evolving deadly force encounter, the gun can be the first resort, right?
Gotcha.
if I'm at home and two guys with ski masks and guns kick in my door, my first resort needs to be my gun.
Gotcha.
Now, if I'm in a parking lot arguing with someone, my last resort is going to be the gun, right? I'm going to de-escalate, and then if the individual does something that will justify me to use legal deadly force, then you see I went through my protocol as far as de-escalating, and then now in this given scenario, it's the last resort.
And I wanted to make sure we talked about that so people know there is a difference.
Correct.
Yeah, because people get a little brave.
Not only brave, but Superman syndrome. When they have the gun on them, it's, my chest out, and it's like, no, that's not your job.
And that's not what it's for.
And that's not what it's for.
Not at all. Now, what services do you provide when it comes to FTAC?
So we provide services for firearms training for law enforcement and civilians, right?
You guys actually change security and law enforcement,
Correct.
which is amazing, man. Yeah.
It's important because, law enforcement, a lot of times they don't get the necessary training that they need, right?
Not all of them.
Not all of them.
No.
You know what I mean? So to train them, make sure that they're properly confident and they have the necessary skills for deadly force encounters that they'll face while out in the field. Same thing with civilians, right? Educating them on violent encounters and what to do and how do we combat that. In addition to that, I'm a deadly force expert. So if you or someone that you know is involved in a situation with deadly force, attorneys will call me or people will call me, and then from there they'll hire my services to examine their situation, deem it justified or not, and if it is, then if it goes to court, then we'll be testifying on their behalf.
And I love that. And when we get back from our break, I want to talk about the laws and what they have to do is how they pertain to handguns as well.
Correct.
Right here in Florida.
Definitely.
Guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Chief Firearm Instructor Chris Louissaint right here on Lowdown. All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Now, we're still here on the Lowdown. We have my man here, Chris Louissaint, Chief Firearm Instructor, telling us the way of the gun, if you will, and
Correct.
Safety
Safety's
number
paramount.
one thing.
Correct.
Now, I want to talk about some laws and how they pertain to guns nowadays, especially here in Florida, because we have a big one.
Yeah,
It's about to happen in July.
July 1st.
Go ahead. Now, tell everybody what's happening if they don't know.
Effective July 1st, we have the permitless carry. What that means is July 1st, if you're a qualified individual, you no longer need to apply with FDACS, Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, for a concealed weapons license. You can just carry your firearm on you in a concealed manner. But you must know that you are a qualified individual.
Okay, explain what a qualified individual means.
So
what is that?
A qualified individual would be an individual who can go to a FFL, which is a gun store, purchase a gun, get approved, and get ownership of that firearm.
Gotcha.
So if you're a convicted felon, if you're on probation or parole, you don't have your Second Amendment right, then you are not a qualified person, right? So people need to do their due diligence to make sure that they are a qualified person.
Now, what happens, in your opinion, when this law does go into effect? What are some of the things people still need to do?
They still need to get training.
Yes.
But a lot of people now, because of this law, they're going to say, well, I don't need training because it's not required of me, right? And those are the people that, unfortunately are not responsible. Just because the law says you don't need to do this doesn't mean that you don't need the training.
And I liken that to let's say tomorrow they decide in Florida that you don't need to get a driver's license to drive. Would you recommend that people not train?
Correct, exactly.
Exactly.
So it's the same thing, right? You have to train. That is the onus, the responsibility is on you, because if you get involved in something, the state and the government's going to say, you should have known. They don't want to hear, well, you didn't get any training. That's your responsibility.
True. Now let's tell people the difference at home between open carry and what that law says we can do here.
Correct. So there's a lot of confusion about that.
Yes.
So we're not an open carry state, which means like constitutional carry, where just by you being a U.S. citizen, a person in the United States, you can just put a gun on you and walk around and the firearm is in plain view.
Like in Texas, I went there.
Correct.
People walking around the grocery store with their gun in holsters. It's like the Wild West. Yeah.
You have Texas and you have Georgia, right? We are not that.
Okay.
What it is you no longer need to apply and have a concealed weapons license on you to carry your firearm. As long as you're a qualified person, you just put your gun on you and it must be concealed. It still needs to be concealed.
And explain that when you say concealed.
Concealed, it can't be in plain view. So that means your shirt or your garment must be covering your firearm.
Gotcha.
If it's in plain view and I'm looking at you and I can see your gun like you're in Texas or Georgia, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right. So, I want people to understand the do's and don'ts, man, because I don't want people to get in trouble. We want to avoid that. Why do you think the Second Amendment's important, and you say this, in the black community? Because
let's look at just brief history, right? Second Amendment played a an important role in ensuring our safety and our freedoms, right?
Okay.
More importantly now, with what's going on, we have people in our community that are subjected to a lot of violence, specifically black women.
Yes.
So it's very important that they get the training that they need to be able to protect themselves. Right?
Understood.
You know, and you know, we're behind the curve, but we're starting to catch up. You know, there's a big wave of people looking to train, and we're trying to just continue. We're trying to continue to make sure that more people are coming out, right?
Gotcha.
And break the stereotypes within our communities, because we have people who do own guns, but they genuinely believe that they don't need training, which is false.
Now, let me ask that. When you do get certified, let's say you get training from FTAC from you, do you keep it up? Is it something you keep doing, or I'm done?
No, so we tell people, yes, it is not I took a concealed class and I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready for it.
Gotcha.
No, you're not. You're
Okay,
not.
there you go.
You're not. You need to be continuously training, because there's so many disciplines within firearms training that you haven't even touched yet. Concealed weapons class, I'm not teaching you how to shoot. I'm teaching you safety.
There you go. That's the
Safety
difference.
and laws.
Yes.
Then from there, to learn how to shoot, there's so many different principles within that. There's daytime shooting, there's nighttime shooting, there's shooting on the move, there's stress shooting, combat shooting. So there's a bunch of different things, right? So we tell people, don't stop there, right? The training needs to be effective and consistent. So keep coming back.
I like it. Now, speaking of safety, I want people to hear this at home, because I've seen this end in a bad way. Let's say, with the new law coming in July, that we can have a concealed weapon. Now, when it comes to your car, what's concealed?
So Florida state statute, so the firearm must be inside of your center console or your glove compartment. It needs to be securely encased, right? It cannot be readily accessible. So people who like to drive around with the firearms underneath their seats, or just sitting on the car seat or inside the cup holder, if you get stopped, you could be
talking to
subjected-
John Moran.
Yeah, you could be. You could be subjected to arrest. So
and I want to say this, especially for our community. When you do get stopped by a cop, let's say with a traffic infraction, you were speeding or they're stopping you because any reason, what's the safest and the correct way to let that officer know, look, I do have a weapon?
So there's about two ways to kind of deal with that situation. Way number one, you get stopped. If you decide to tell the officer that you have a firearm in the vehicle, from there, you want to let them know where the firearm is. And then if you do not feel safe, you can respectfully tell them that you don't want to make any type of movement. Because what's going to happen is, you tell an officer there's a gun in the car, all right? He's going to be paying attention. Then any sudden movement, if he feels like you're going for the gun now, he would be justified in using deadly force.
Gotcha.
So to prevent that, keep your hands on the steering wheel. Sir, this is who I am. This is my name, my information. I don't feel comfortable reaching because I don't want you to think I'm reaching for the gun. Then from there, what he's going to do is, if he's really trained, he's going to have you step outside the vehicle.
And let him get it.
And let him get it, or separate. If it's on your person, he will have you step out, separate you from the firearm, and then you'll be able to conduct a traffic stop.
I love that. Chris, thank you. That's wonderful information to share, brother. No, honestly, because that can save lives.
Correct.
Man. Now, as these new laws come into effect in this country and as they affect us here in Orlando, I want you to come back and keep talking with me.
Definitely.
Man, because we want to keep up abreast of this, because like you said, we're behind the curve, but we're definitely catching up.
Correct.
Now, I want people watching this to definitely support what you do and understand they can get instruction from you. So can you please share with them your social media?
Thank you. My handles are going to be ftac.training. That's going to be on Instagram. That's going to be on TikTok. And that's going to be on YouTube.
Yes! Yes! Oh, what? Oh, me?
Yes. All for you. All for you.
Oh, thank y'all so much. Mike, they love us.
They are prepaid. sir.
All right, nice.
There you go. Yeah.
I will pay you back.
Sure.
Never. But
All
thank
right.
you.